Cool. Well, we're going to lay down to get started. That's definitely my plan. Yeah. And actually, if we like can make it through class without opening our eyes, that's also sort of like a thought for me, because I feel like, I don't know about all of you, but I certainly have been experiencing like at least a little bit of eye strain, or maybe a lot with all of the screen activity. So yeah, so we're gonna lay down. We're gonna close our eyes if you feel comfortable doing that. And you might even like place something on top of your eyes, like if you have like a shirt or a washcloth or you know, just something nearby. If you happen to have an eye pillow, that's wonderful. Just so that we can create a little bit less like of that feeling of needing to look and see, and a little bit more of that feeling of kind of going in and sensing. So sort of doing our best to separate ourselves just a little bit from the external world, just for a little while. Okay, so we're going to begin on our backs, and I think constructive rest might be the best choice for this morning. So that's just you on your back, the soles of your feet on the floor, and your knees pointing up. And before we get started with any music or anything like that, it might be nice to just take notice of the sound of your breathing. The sounds that are happening in the room around you. The way it feels to breathe. And see if you can sense your right arm and your left arm, and then your right leg and your left leg, and then the center of your body, bringing your attention in. And let's take another 15 good breaths right into the center of your body, wherever that is for you this morning. Good. Breathing as big as you can without straining yourself or any weirdness, just noticing your edges. Good. Last 3 deep breaths here. Maybe thinking about a purpose for your practice if you want to go there. Maybe just giving yourself the space to listen again. Good. And then when you feel ready, yeah, you can start your music if you want to use it this morning. And we're just going to stretch out into a starfish pose. So your arms and your legs nice and long, your feet open sort of wide. Good, your arms open sort of wide, and maybe they're overhead or maybe they're out to the sides. And letting your eyes come back to a close if they were open. And taking your deep, deep breaths here. Be here for about 20 breaths or so. And kind of stretching out your limbs so that your body is taking up just as much space as it possibly can. Imagine that you can breathe in through your fingertips and through the soles of the feet right into the center of your body. And then as you breathe out, you're breathing out down through the feet. Just kind of drawing your attention in from all places. And then back down into the ground as you breathe out. Good, doing your best. Good, another few big breaths here. Right, and why don't we shift into a happy baby pose next? Just bringing your knees in and maybe sort of wide. Good, you could reach for your thighs or your knees or your feet. If you're near a wall, you could set your feet on the wall and let the wall support you. Good, yeah, movement if you want it, stillness if that's what your body is asking for. You could always extend one of your legs out long and then the other one out long. Or bring the soles of your feet together and let your knees continue to be wide for a little bound angle. Good. For these last 7 breaths, really take notice of the way that your lower back feels, especially right around the top of your sacrum. That bony plate at the base of your spine. Maybe taking a few breaths and imagining that as you exhale, the breath can sort of go down through that part of you, down into the floor. Good. Let's extend the legs out nice and long on the mat again. Reach those arms out and overhead. Good. If you want to interlace your fingers and press your palms up and out, that might feel nice for a moment. Point and flex the feet. Good. And then from here, slide your heels over to the right and your upper body over in that direction too for some banana pose. And as you find your banana, just make sure that your shoulders aren't really too distressed. You just want to make sure that they're comfortable, because ideally we're making this a little bit more about what's happening in the low belly and the side of the rib cage, and even down across the top of the hip then about the shoulders. Good. Great, so just breathing deeply here, noticing the left side of your body getting some space. Good. Notice your eyes and let them sit sort of heavy in the sockets. And then soften your cheeks and your jaw a little bit. Good. Another 5 deep breaths here in your banana pose. Good. Bring yourself back through to the center. And as you get here, yeah, pull the knees in towards the chest just for a moment or two. Good. Yeah, maybe that little rock around, or maybe some stillness. Or another thought is that you might take your hands to the backs of your thighs and then lengthen your legs and kind of think about taking like this, almost like a seated forward fold, but on your back. Yeah. Nice. Pointing and flexing the feet. And rolling those ankles around. Good, and then let's set the feet back down on the floor, and we're gonna take a restorative bridge for some amount of time here. So grabbing a hold of whatever feels most supportive that's around you, a block or bolster. Good, you can just pick up your hips and set your pelvis back down on that bolster. Yeah, and then however you arrange your limbs is going to be up to you. So you might decide to like keep the feet on the floor, the arms tucked in alongside you, or maybe you want to take like a starfish type of shape here in your restorative bridge, really extending out through your limbs. And if you feel like too open, it might also be nice to place a blanket on your low belly or cross your arms over your chest. Good. Yeah, taking your time here just to breathe and settle into the props underneath you. Good. Maybe another 20 breaths or so here. And if you want to switch the arms around or rearrange the legs, you're certainly welcome to do that. Good. Let's take another 3 breaths or so right here. Good. Those breaths right into the center of you. Good, and then let's come on back through, taking the block out underneath. yeah, from underneath you. Let's bring the knees into the chest. And just a couple of breaths to notice that lower back again, connecting with the floor. Good, and then from here, extend those legs out nice and long on the mat again. Reach your arms out past your head, and we'll slide the heels over to the left, finding your banana pose. Good, taking a few moments to just wiggle yourself into that curved shape. Good, to wiggle yourself into something that's kind of comfortable, but sort of on the edge too. That little bit of discomfort maybe. Good, noticing the way the right side of your body feels and what you might have been holding there, literally or figuratively. Let's settle in for about 4 minutes. Good, just sort of observe your mind and everything that's happening there. And do what you can to bring yourself back into the center of things. Right into your belly, or your heart, or wherever that is. Good, just another few deep breaths here. Good, and then start to bring yourself back through to the center. And here you might bring a block underneath your pelvis again, but instead of a bridge pose, just sending your feet up towards the ceiling or maybe drawing your knees in towards your chest with the block underneath. If you really do want to take another bridge pose, of course you're welcome to. Sometimes that's like just the thing. But going for this little bit of an inversion perhaps. Yeah, sending those feet up and really thinking about spreading the toes nice and wide. And then maybe rotating the ankles as your toes are spread wide, and you might draw the toes into like a little toe fist as you move in the circle and spread them wide again. Good, just taking your time. Great. And as you're here, take notice of your head and neck and think about gently drawing your chin in towards your throat to help lengthen through the upper back, the back of the neck a little bit. Good. And then eventually we'll set the feet back down if they're lifted and take that block out of the way. And then from here, take your left ankle over your right knee and just find a figure four shape. And you can keep that right foot on the floor, or you could draw the thigh in towards your chest and take a little rock around on your back. Good, yeah, you can find any kind of movement you'd like here, or you can be totally still. That right leg might also go up long towards the ceiling if you want a little bit more hamstring activity. Yeah. Good. Yeah, your deep breath, let it be big here. Take notice of both of your hips and both sets of glutes and all those little muscles underneath. And just kind of imagine that you can breathe all the way down into that space, and you might even feel a little bit of breath movement there. You might feel a little bit of a stretch just from breathing and holding the shape. Let your jaw relax too. Good. About 10 more breaths. Good. And as you come out of this, it might feel nice to move around a little bit, the soles of both of your feet to the floor, your knees up. And then you might drop your knees from side to side like windshield wipers. Maybe you want to move back into happy baby. Maybe you want to stretch your limbs out long and just sort of feel how things went there in the hips. Notice the lower back. Just a few moments for whatever you need. All right. And then let's find a reclined bound angle pose. Soles of the feet together, knees out wide. You might take your arms overhead and just let them be loose, or clasp your elbows, or even stack your hands one on top of the other so your elbows are out wide like a diamond. Good. And sometimes when I come into this shape, I like to pick up my shoulders and set them back down, and pick up my hips and set them back down so that my spine can sort of come back to its natural curvature. Yeah. And just doing your best to be here for a little while. Let's take 5 minutes or so. No agenda, nothing to do. Nothing to solve or control, just you and your breath here. Good, just about another 7 big breaths here. Good, and then take a little bit of time to bring yourself on out of this. Making some movements that feel like the best movements right now. Eventually coming into that figure four on the other side. So however you need to get there is fine, but right ankle over left knee. Good, doing your best to kind of like seek out that edge a little bit. And to really notice the way that your hips and your glutes and your lower back and your jaw and your eyes respond to this. And just doing your best to soften wherever you can. Good, to soften your breath and to soften your muscles. Just doing your best to coax out any sharpness from yourself, at least for right now. Good, about another 7 deep breaths. Good, and then let's come on out of this. And we're gonna roll over onto our bellies next. So just take a little bit of time, maybe you're sitting up, maybe you're rolling to your side and just rearranging yourself. Just taking a moment to sink into the floor all over again. Good. Yeah, really snuggle in there. Turn your head over to one side or the other, or maybe you're stacking your hands and placing your head on the backs of your hands. And just feel your lower back moving with your breath. Good. Notice the way your shoulder blades are moving, the back of your rib cage. Good. And if your head is turned to one side, turn it on over to the other side. And just be aware of how that subtle change really changes things. Maybe your arms want to be rearranged. Maybe you need to consciously deepen your breath a little bit after turning your head. Nice. From wherever you are, draw your left knee up towards the left side of your chest and take your half frog pose. Your half frog could be you with your knee bent the whole time, that left knee bent the whole time, or you could extend through that left leg so that your left leg is long and to the side. See if that feels okay with your hip and the inside line of your leg. And we'll spend about 3 minutes or so here. So just, snuggling your upper body down into whatever you have around you, maybe even curling your arms up underneath you. Maybe you want to hug the ground this morning. Good, and just a few more deep breaths right here. Good, and then go ahead and extend that left leg nice and long behind you. If you want to bend at the knees and rock your lower legs side to side, that's a thought, or if you'd like to come up into A Sphinx pose, that's another nice thing you could do here for yourself. And I think we're all going to meet in Sphinx pose after any kind of little movements that you want to take. So yeah, finding your way up so that your elbows are kind of in line with your shoulders. And just take notice of how the shoulders feel, and then let the head drop down. Again, just looking for some space on either side of the spine from top to bottom. And taking notice of the way it feels in between your shoulder blades. And noticing the sound and the feel of your breath. Why don't we just take about 10 more? Good. Our next stop is going to be a child's pose. So you can just kind of crawl yourself back there when you feel ready. Settle yourself down. Knees can be closed or they can be wide. Yeah, you might use some props, a block under your forehead, or bolster underneath your chest. Blanket wrapped around you. I mean, we're almost to blanket season, guys. This is happening. Time to get cozy. And as you settle into your child's pose, taking a few super deep breaths here so that you can feel your breath being moved, or your body being moved, I should say, by your breath. And let's take about another 10 big breaths. And if you have your head turned off to one side or the other, you might switch. If you have your head straight down, you might rock your forehead from side to side a few times just to kind of loosen some tension from your forehead and your brow, your eyes. Good, and then from here, just slide yourself back out onto your belly, where we'll spend the rest of our time. You can pull your right knee up towards the right side of your chest and maybe extend that right leg out nice and long into the side if your hips like that. Arranging those arms however they need to be so that you're comfortable and you feel kind of secure and steady. And breathing those deep breaths right into the center of yourself. Good, a couple more breaths here. Right, and then go ahead and send that leg nice and long behind you again. And if you wanted to prop yourself up into one final back bend like a sphinx or a seal, of course you're welcome to. You might even decide to point your toes up towards the ceiling at this point, just to get that nice big front body stretch. And yeah, maybe you want to tuck back into another child's pose for a few moments. It's also nice. And actually, that leaves me thinking that, child's pose might be a nice place to end class if you like it, or you might find your belly again. Or perhaps you want to lie down on your back, take Shavasana, or put your feet up on something. Just getting yourself cozy, whatever that means for your body on this morning. I'm sure that we all walked into class feeling a little bit differently than the person next to us. And so for that reason, you should just do what you need to do. Right? Notice the way it feels to breathe. And the way it feels to soften. And the way it feels to become heavy. Okay, just letting yourself be here for a few more minutes of stillness and attention to that center place. Take a few more super deep breaths. And then a couple of small movements as you feel ready to move. Good. And then let's all find our way up to a seated position. Slowly, slowly coming up. Sitting up tall. There you are. Good morning, everybody. Yeah, let's sit up tall. We'll take our hands onto our heart and just kind of broaden those collarbones and lift up the heart into the hands. Good, and sit back into yourself too. This doesn't have to be so urgent, right? You can sit back into yourself and feel at ease here. And just take a couple breaths in through the nose and out through the nose. Good, and then let's drop our head down towards our hands and our heart, honoring our time practicing and honoring each other too. Namaste. Thanks for coming this morning, everybody, and just taking it really slow and easy.